So, Burdetta, tell me about the impact of MLK Day in light of the events of the past year up to today for you.
Okay, thank you, Lindsay. I've been taking a lot of consideration on that thought process because thinking about MLK and what it's mean in the last year, and when he talks about his dream of the promised land and the future, it makes me realize in the last year that we're nowhere near the promised land. I can even go back to September when I had a birthday party on Zoom, and they bombed it by saying the N-word. They hope I die. They literally threatened my sons. That really told me that we are nowhere near where we need to be. What happened at the Capitol even further tell me that we're nowhere near it, because if that was a Black Matter rally, and they would have even just protest at the Capitol, it would have been body bags. Somebody would have got killed. More people would have got killed. It would have been more aggressive, no matter how they put it. I've seen Black Lives Matter, and I've seen people just walking down the street, and I've seen them tear gassed. I've seen them get hit with clubs. That tells me that we're nowhere near. When they can put a Confederate flag up in our nation's capital, and the first time in history has that ever flown.
Mm-hmm.
We are nowhere near. When you can actually have a council member who has served our city of Phoenix for 23 years, Mr. Calvin Good, and on his funeral, his last celebration of his life, someone comes in and bombs it, disrespect his funeral. That tells me that we are nowhere near where we need to be, where King's Dream is at.
It's interesting because I'm sitting here right now in an Arrest the Cops Who Killed Breonna Taylor shirt in a state that didn't acknowledge MLK's birthday until the 90s. And I moved out here from the East Coast where we celebrated it, we talked about it, we got the full history. But then you come out here to a state that didn't acknowledge MLK not that long ago. And we're seeing people who have displayed such grand anti-Blackness, especially anti-Black women, like throughout the past 5 years or more. And they're co-opting MLK's messaging to serve their self-interest, to, further white privilege, further a racist agenda. And this MLK Day is going to be rough. I've gotten death threats and told to go back to Africa and called a racist for trying to make sure that we are being equitable and honoring the diversity of our students. You've gotten it, right?
Yes.
And especially around this school reopening and COVID, where we know that children who look like us from our community, people who look like us, they are disproportionately impacted by the virus. We've always had these inequities in terms of being in that opportunity gap, connection, through technology, and nobody cared as recently as last year. Nobody cared about our mental health last year. I sat in meetings where people were saying it was liberal indoctrination and equity was meant to divide us. But now they are co-opting these messages of equity, diversity, inclusion, social emotional learning to make sure that Black children, less affluent children, are always at the bottom.
Yes.
And certain children are always at the top. So this is a hard one, especially being a week from the Capitol and what happened there and nooses being hung at the Capitol. We're in a fight for our lives, and you're right, this is not MLK's dream.